Hi, hon.
Davy's report card.
It's worse than last time.
He's just not interested. His friend Billy made the honor roll.
He's no smarter than Davy.
But he had help. Joe and Peg got him an Adam.
Adam is the only affordable home computer that comes complete. And Adam offers a variety of educational software that takes minutes to learn. Kids get so involved that learning becomes easier and more fun.
We're getting you an Adam.
Really?
Really?
Adam, the smartest gift you can give your family.
Hi everybody, thank you for joining me on today's edition of Glen's Retro Show. Recently I've wanted to take out my Coleco ADAM. I got it recently. I've had ColecoVision since actually release day. Always wanted an ADAM, but back in the day it was $600 and they were having massive problems with the tape drives and they were pretty much all recalled. Coleco eventually did fix that problem, but the machine itself was just too tainted. It never did well in the marketplace, and it was one of the downfalls of Coleco as a company. They spent so much money on the ADAM, and it really is a pretty neat system. I mean, you had the whole promise of it was a complete system. You had a keyboard, you had the memory console, and a printer, all included. Take it out of the box. You also had a ColecoVision built in, so it was pretty nice. Now, one of the big detractions for me wasn't the tape drives, because they eventually did fix them, and they actually are pretty neat, high-speed data cassette drives. The biggest problem was, in order to use the ADAM, even if it was the ColecoVision expansion module version of the ADAM, you had to have the big, bulky printer attached. Now, that was one of the selling points back then, a letter quality daisy wheel printer included, which was great. The problem was it always had to be connected to your computer in order to use it, because the power supply for the ColecoVision computer, ADAM, or the ColecoVision expansion module still required the printer to be attached because that supplied the power to the entire console. And if you can take a look at this here, this thing's massive. I mean, back in the day, they were trying to save money as best they could, and it does work. It's a daisy wheel, great printouts on it. But the freaking thing is massive. And when you want to play some ADAM games or something like that, and you got to take this out, it's a beast. So today's episode is going to be how can we replace that and still use our ADAM. And you know what? You can really make something pretty small and not very expensive at all. If I remember where I put it. It's so small I lost it. We're going to be making one of these today. And you can see it's much smaller. Matter of fact, if I'm going to put it on the printer itself here, let's see if I can pick both these up without causing a catastrophe. Okay, so you can see the size difference we're talking about here. This is much smaller. And I think when I have the parts listed below, I've had this for a while now. You can get this for about $22. And then a couple of small other parts like a DB9 connector and some wire. And that's all you need. So let's get started on this video so we can keep this big beast in the box where it belongs and use this small little power supply to run our ADAM. Let's get started. Now the other thing this printer is known to do is generate enough EMP to kill Skynet. So if Terminators ever take over, all you need to do is get one near one of these printers and turn it on. I'm not sure if you'll hear the noise, but let's try it out. So they tell you in the ColecoVision manual, and at least in the later versions, that never put your digital data pack tapes in the ADAM and turn on the printer. It generates enough of an electromagnetic pulse that it will actually erase and damage your tapes. Originally, that was the first problem with the Atom, was the instructions said to put the tapes in the Atom, then power it on. And the basic program of Buck Rogers, whatever tape they had at the time, would be destroyed. They eventually changed it and actually put warning labels on the console saying, do not put the tapes anywhere near this when you power it on. Once it's on, it's fine. But the powering up cycle generates a big, huge EMP. So now that we heard this one, let's go to the other power supply and just see how that one works. So we'll get close to this one as well. You can see there's just a green indicator light, but it's absolutely quiet. And the best part, no EMP. So this shouldn't destroy your digital data packs if they're in your machine when you turn it on. But I would recommend still not doing it because I haven't tried it out. I don't plan on doing it because I don't want to risk any of my tapes. But this beast was known for an EMP pulse on power on. I highly doubt this does the same. But I wouldn't change your practices. I would turn it on first and then put in your digital data packs. So to make these is actually quite simple. You obviously need the power supply unit. I'll have a link down below where you can get that. It's about $22. After that, you can use a regular PC line cord. You probably have a ton of those lying around from your PC. And you just going to basically cut that. And you can see right here, we have our hot, our neutral, and our ground right here. So that's your power supply. Now, I didn't put an on-off switch on this. You can definitely put an on-off switch on this cord. Right now, you just plug it in. It's going to turn on your computer. But you can always add a line cord with a power switch. And on here, we only need a total of 5 wires right here. I'm going to go into the build more in a minute. But it's basically you're going to have your negative 5 volts, your 12 volts, your ground, and your positive 5 volts over here. And it's just a regular, you can see right here, it's a female Atari connector, a DB9. And I'll go through all the steps. It's very easy to do. And you can have a really nice small power supply. Look, my hand is much bigger than it. If I go over to the original printer, forget about it. It's huge. So let's get started on this little build. It won't take too long. And you can be up and running with your Atom with a nice, quiet, small power supply. Okay, so you can see here is the original Atom ColecoVision family computer system smart writer printer, which is a daisy wheel printer, and it's also the power supply for your Coleco ADAM computer or the Coleco ADAM expansion module number 3. Again, even if you have the ColecoVision expansion module, you can't use, or really shouldn't use, the power supply that came with the ColecoVision. It does not supply enough power. It actually comes with a special dock that blocks the power connector on the back of the ColecoVision, because you are supposed to use this printer to supply power to everything. And again, you can see how big and bulky and heavy this is. It's loud. When you turn it on, it does generate an EMP pulse that will wipe out or damage your digital data packs if they're in the tape drives when you power this thing on. And here's our new power supply. That'll be a lot cooler, a lot quieter, a lot smaller, and as far as I can tell, does not generate an EMP pulse that will wipe out your digital data packs on power up. Now, I don't know that for sure yet. I'll do some testing, but I'm pretty sure that this is not going to generate the huge EMP pulse that this thing does that wipes out and damages the data packs. So you can see right here, this is where I purchased mine from, and I want to thank Milli. I'll put a link down below to his YouTube channel, because he's the one who actually did this first, and I'm actually very grateful he did, and I was able to create this for myself and make this video. So I'll put a link down below to Milli's website, and actually it's already, and it has been for quite some time, in my end credits. But you can see right here, the price was not too bad. It was $16.95 for the power supply, and I thought that was a very good deal. And all we really care about is the 5 volts, the plus 12 volts, and the minus 5 volts. The minus 12 in this build doesn't matter. Now, this type of power supply might also be good for your TI-994A, or even the actual ColecoVision itself, if you wanted to make such a connector for them. But in this particular video, we're doing the Atom. And again, this was a good price. And if you don't want to buy it from them, here's the part number, the manufacturer, and the manufacturer part number. You can Google this, and there are a lot of people who do sell it. And but I found this price to be the best one around. And you can see right here, these symbols here don't really tell you too much, but it's written on the side what V3 is and V2 is, so I just wrote them on here for you. So you can see the V3 is actually supplying you minus 5 volts. The plus V2 is your positive 12 volts. The COM is your ground, and the plus 5 volts is your plus 5 volts. And there is an adjustment screw here to adjust your 5 volts. Now, it was a little bit off, but I decided to leave it alone because it was still within acceptable ranges. And you can see here we have our different colored wires, and I marked in here where they're all going to go in your DB9 female. The male, this is going to be on the actual ADAM computer end, whether it's the ColecoVision expansion module or the main computer. And this is the inside of the actual computer here. So this is, again, showing all they are here. But we don't really care about that right now. We want it to do this side, which is coming from your printer. That's what plugs into the DB9 connector here. And the ports are marked 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And I've done the same here, so you can't make any mistakes. So you know that the brown wire is your positive 12 is going into 1. And then your red wire is positive 12 going into number 2. The orange is a positive 5 volts going to number 3. The yellow is your minus 5 volts going to 4. And then the green 5 is your ground. And that correlates to all these wires up here. So this diagram you might want to take a screenshot of or print it out, because this is what you're really going to need to make the cable. And you'll also need obviously a female Atari. I always call them Atari DB9 connectors. And you can see they are marked. If I zoom in a little bit, they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and it's also marked on the back side too. But these are not expensive at all. I got like a dozen of them for like 99 cents on eBay. And then for the wires, I had an old power supply, a regular PC power supply, and they ordered all the colors I needed. So I simply cut that off and made my wires, pulled them off a little bit, and stripped them on each sides. I always try, if I can, use something I have around the house rather than have to buy something if I can. So here is the female, the back end of the female DB9. It's a little hard to see, but they are marked here with the numbers. And you can see I have my, the black is actually my brown wire, because I didn't actually have a brown wire. But then I have a red, or orange, or yellow, and then our green. And all you have to do really is make sure you have a good flux. You do want to put flux down here first. It helps with the solder. So what I do is I flux it, and I put a drop of solder on each one. I tin the wires beforehand. Same thing, I flux the wires, put a little tin on them. Then I put flux on one last time and just touch each wire to each one of these contact points, and it holds on and secures really, really nice. And we have our wire built. This is a very quick project. It doesn't take a lot of time. You have to make sure when you make these wires, just make sure there's no shorting of any of them, which is really hard to do. It just requires a little bit of solder to get them on there. And we have our nice rainbow wires on this side. And we just have to cut these ends off here so we can put them in the appropriate spots right here. And again, we're all marked here. Our yellows are minus 5 volts. The red and brown are positive and 12 volts going to here. Our ground wire is going here. And our oranges are positive 5 volts. So it's not a lot of work here. And again, it's a very quick project to do. Here's just another close-up shot here. And here you can see the numbering on the back of these wires here. You can see the tinning goes in really, really well. And it's really hard to bridge them. You don't want to put huge globs of solder. A little is all that's needed. And then again, you put your yellow wire into here. The red and brown, in this case it's black, so I didn't have brown, goes into here. Your green goes here. And then your orange goes right here. Now, the one thing I didn't do, this is your main power coming in. You might want to get a wire that has, or you can put one in yourself, on-off switch if you wanted to, and I'll probably do that myself. But for right now, the on-off switch is plugging it in and pulling it out of the wall socket. And again, you can see all the wires nice and neat here, and nice and neat here. Now what I did do was, I did take some hot glue, and I hot glued these here just so it gave a little strain relief on them. It's not really necessary on this side, but I did do it on this side. And just again, another shot here of all the wires coming in here. This will be your positive 110, your neutral, and then your ground over here. And that's it. I had a little old case I had here for, it's actually, I think it was an RJ45 in the back end, which is really good when I went to put these wires in, because it kind of sat nice and flat. And a little hot glue over there, and popped it in. And that's it. So this thing is ready to be plugged into a Coleco ADAM. And again, this was a very quick project, guys. But I know a lot of people have ColecoVision ADAMs that are tired of lugging this big monster around just to power on their machine. And now for about, I'll say probably 20 bucks in parts, you can have a brand new power supply. And then you can find maybe a little plastic box you can put this in, or put it inside the Atom itself. But that's really it. Now, the one thing I did do is, just because I'm me, I wanted to verify all my contact points. So here's the original Atom power supply, and here's the one that we built. And I took my multimeter here, and I'm going to check the volts. And I took basically a paper clip. And you do want to be careful here. You don't want to touch these together, because you'll get a spark. You have to be very careful doing this. But I just took a paper clip, and I put it in the first two pins right here. And then I go over to this one in the next shot, and I keep going back and forth to test them. So the first one, you can see I put them in, the first two contact points here, and I'm getting my minus 5 volts, just slightly over 5 volts. This is from the original Atom power supply. When I went to mine, it was a little under. It's 4.95, and there is an adjustment screw for it, but I left it as it is because it's still acceptable. The Atom will be able to tolerate that. The next one's going to be our positive 5 volts. We have 5.41 volts on the Atom power supply, and 5.08 on the one that we built here. And you can see maybe a little bit closer here. So we have the paper clip just going into the pinholes right here, one across on each one. The next one is our positive 12 on the Atom power supply. We have 12.24, and I'm seeing 11.77 on the smaller power supply that we built. And then on the final, we should get about the same, 12.10 on the Atom power supply, and again 11.77, which you would expect, just that the two wires are sharing the same port. And so it's all tested good, and that's all you need to do, fellas. Just a few minutes of your time, about 20 bucks out of your wallet, and you can turn this into something like this. And I do appreciate everyone for watching the video, and if you did like it, please give a thumbs up, share, subscribe, and remember everyone, game on. Sit, Blue Blue, sit. Good dog.
End of line.